This video is sponsored by AG1. Use the link in the description to receive a free 1-year supply of AG, vitamin D3 and K2, and 5 travel packs with your first purchase. Also, for those interested, my brand new book, The Closer We Get, just came out and is now available. It's a sort of reality-bending, psychological, no-sugar-coating love story that I think you'll really enjoy. The link for that will be in the description as well. Before you even realized it, you were making decisions. Decisions that would affect you, your life, who you'd be, where you'd end up. And ever since then, you've been dealing with the consequences of those decisions, where they've put you, and what choices you need to make now. On average, you will make somewhere around 800 million decisions in your lifetime. Most will be very small. Some will be extremely significant. Ultimately though, every decision, big or small, in some way or another, will affect you. Behind each is a different state of being, a different course of life, a different condition of the world. In nearly every conscious waking moment, you exist at the intersection of the past and future as a crossing guard for the infinite possibilities of life. Understandably, at least when it comes to large, important-seeming decisions, the pressure of this position can be immense as we attempt, to the best of our abilities, to make the right decisions. Should we move to a new place, or should we stay where we've been? Should we follow our passion, or should we pursue a more conservative career path? Which people should we call friends? Which should we no longer? Who should we date and love? Who should we stop loving? These are a few of the very big, life-changing decisions that we will all inevitably face within our lifetime. There are certainly cases in which these kinds of decisions come with good reasons to choose one way and not another, and we should strive to explore and discover those reasons when we can. We should run cost-benefit analyses, pros and cons lists. We should do our best to estimate the outcomes and probabilities of outcomes. We should consult others. We should consider our intuition and scan our body for physical signs of our feeling about a choice. Do we contract or tense up when we think about one option and loosen and open up when we think about another? But in truth, often, if not most of the time, with big, hard decisions, no matter what we do and what we consider, the right choice will still be entirely unclear. If you've ever made a pros and cons list, you've likely encountered an obvious problem that emerges. Certain pros and cons matter far more or less than others. It isn't enough to simply tally them all up and conclude that one side has 12 pros and 6 cons, while the other has 9 and 3. What if one of the cons is that you'll probably die? Surely that would carry a greater weight in the decision. And so, we have to define or ascribe different degrees of weight or a quantitative value to each. But how do we ascribe clear quantitative value to something like intuition, feelings, variations of happiness, different senses of purpose, different kinds of love, of hardship, of pleasure and pain, and so on? The point here, of course, is that when imagining our life on the other side of a big decision, or any decision, even if our estimations of what it might be like are anywhere near accurate, which when it comes to life, our predictions are almost never, still, how can we derive a conclusion from all the abstract and ambiguous elements in order to make a so-called good or right decision? We are led to believe by our nature, by our culture, by our hopes, that there are always better and worse options in life. Go this way, and life is good. Go that way, and life is bad, or at least worse. Sometimes this is the case. Sometimes there are good reasons to believe it will be, but sometimes it is not the case, and there are no clear reasons. Sometimes multiple scenarios appear to and do carry equivalent amounts of possible good, possible bad, possible risk, possible opportunity, possible ambiguity. And what are we to do then? How does one choose between options if they are apparently, in some complex abstract way, the same and yet completely different? From a certain angle, every reasonably made decision in life will be wrong. Every decision will cause pain, sorrow, horrible challenges, and deep suffering. No matter how good a decision is, there is no decision in life that will take the very conditions of life away. And so, as long as the decision keeps you alive, there will continue to be anxiety and doubt and fear. There will continue to be the need to make new decisions and the impulse to regret old ones. In truth, we are far too hard on ourselves. Our expectations are far too high. German philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer wrote, If you want a safe compass to guide you through life and to banish all doubt as to the right way of looking at it, You cannot do better than accustom yourself to regard this world as a penitentiary. If you accustom yourself to this view of life, you will regulate your expectations accordingly and cease to look upon all its disagreeable incidents, great and small, its sufferings, its worries, its misery, as anything unusual or irregular. Nay, you will find that everything is as it should be. Considering the problem of decision-making from an existentialist point of view, which is a key focus of the philosophy, explored by individuals like Jean-Paul Sartre, Soren Kierkegaard, Albert Camus, and Friedrich Nietzsche, what matters in our decisions is often less about what we choose and more about how and why we choose the things we do, as well as how we respond to these decisions and move forward. Sartre argued that we ought to make decisions according only to honest and authentic representations of our interests and values. He referred to making decisions based rather on fearful, deluded conceptions of ourselves as bad faith. Soren Kierkegaard suggested that we can arrive at these authentic valuations of ourselves by following what he referred to as passion, or a kind of intuitive desire. We must then take, according to Kierkegaard, as he defined it, a leap of faith into what we personally determine to be worthwhile and meaningful, and not necessarily into what we think is rationally or objectively right. And both Camus and Nietzsche help us deal with the inevitable consequences that will come from our choices and leaps of faith by reminding us that our attempts at authenticity, our plans, and our projects are all inevitably futile, absurd, and destined to come with struggle and suffering. For Camus, through his concept of revolt, he argued that by recognizing and affirming this absurdity, we can still happily live on in spite of it. And Nietzsche compels us to do just the same with his concept of amor fati. Nietzsche wrote, "My formula for human greatness is amor fati, that one wants nothing to be different, not in the future, not in the past, not for all eternity. Not only to endure what is necessary, still less to conceal it. All idealism is falseness in the face of necessity, but to love it." Ultimately, we are incapable of ever making the decisions we truly want to deep down, the ones that will finally and totally make life good. And so, when faced with those hard, crucial moments of life, rather than always worrying about making the exact right, perfect decisions, perhaps we ought to also focus on perceiving and dealing with the decision-making process, ourselves, and our lives more charitably. Arguably, making decisions in life is a sort of tightrope walk between taking them, at least important ones, very seriously, while simultaneously knowing that no matter how seriously we take them, it won't matter all that much in the way we conventionally hope it will. In the same way that from a certain angle, every decision is some amount wrong, so too is every reasonably made decision from a certain angle right, sure to lead to beautiful experiences, great triumphs, and deep meaning. In every decision and every moment where we are still alive, no matter what is good or bad, we have the chance to stand behind our decisions, move forward through them with honesty and effort, and to embrace the incoming conditions of life with admiration and grace. And in doing so, we have the opportunity to transform whatever conditions our decisions have led us to into meaning and value and beauty. In the end, perhaps it is not the specific decisions that we make that will give our lives their meaning, but it is how we perceive the life our decisions have led us to that will give our lives their meaning. This video was sponsored by AG1. Of course, in addition to very difficult, big, ambiguous decisions in life, there are also much easier, more obvious decisions we make every day, which also invariably affect the course of our lives. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit, wrote Will Durant. One of those fairly obvious, easy, but important decisions is taking care of our body and getting the proper nutrition. Although this choice is easy to make, actually executing on it on a regular basis can be extremely challenging, time-consuming, and overwhelming. With AG1, however, the whole process is made simple, easy, and efficient. AG1 is perfect for everyone, but especially anyone who struggles with too many options or wants to optimize their time, because it combines 75 vitamins, minerals, whole food sourced ingredients, and packs in the perfect amount of micronutrients, absorption, and taste, so that the decision to support your whole body health is just 1 scoop and 8 ounces of water every day. With its science-driven formulation of prebiotics, probiotics, and plant-based enzymes, AG1 supports long-term gut health And with CoQ10 and phytonutrients, it promotes longevity and health for the skin, brain, and heart. And every day, through keeping your body nourished and replenished, you feel that increased healthy alertness, focus, and balance. Start your day off with an easy decision with AG1 by going to drinkag1.com/pursuitofwonder. By using my link, you'll also receive a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D3 and K2, plus 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. And of course, as always, thank you so much for watching in general, and see you next video.